Hello everybody. In this video we're going to be looking at how to answer question 4 from the Britain Health and the People exam. Question 4 is the big hitter. It's the 16 marker. So it's one that is really worth paying attention to, because along with our SPaG marks it gives us nearly half our grades for this paper, and it accounts for nearly half the time out of the whole hour that we'll be spending answering these exam questions for Britain Health and the People. So, it's the factors question. It will always ask you about factors in relation to either the causes or the treatment of disease, public health, or surgery and anatomy. Let's have a look at our question today. Has the role of the individual been the main factor in the development of the treatment of disease in Britain? Explain your answer with reference to the role of the individual and other factors. Use a range of examples from across your study of health and the people, 1000 to the present day. Now, it's worth having a close look at what the question is asking us to do. First of all, we note that the main factor is the role of the individual, which means that if I'm aiming for anything higher than a level 3, that is what I'm going to start with. The focus of the question is the development of the treatment of disease. So I'm not looking here at the causes, although that might be part of it. So how they looked to find the causes of disease. I'm looking at how they treated disease. And not to forget that I have to include Britain in my study. I have to explain my answer, and I need to talk about both the role of the individual and other factors. And this is going to be key if I want to get into a level 3 answer. Finally, it's very important to note that the question asks you to use a range of examples from across your study. So our study starts in 1000 AD, so this is the medieval period, to the present day. So if I'm aiming to get anything higher than a strong level 3, I need to make sure that I use examples, in other words, examples of factors from 1000 AD onwards, not forgetting that I need to be talking about Britain as well. So, now that we've looked at the question, let's have a look at what an answer will look like. I'm going to start with the role of the individual, which is the named factor. The role of the individual has been an important factor in the development of the treatment of disease in Britain. For example, the Arab doctor Ibn Sina wrote a medical textbook called Canon of Medicine, which included the medical properties of 760 drugs and chapters on anorexia and obesity, causes of illness and disease. His book was so important that it became the standard medical textbook in Europe and Britain until the 17th century. Also, the genius of Britain's Jenner allowed him to create the first ever vaccine against smallpox. In turn, his discovery allowed Pasteur to develop the science of immunology, as he went on to create his own vaccines for chicken cholera, anthrax, and rabies. Thanks to their work, vaccines have eradicated most killer diseases. Pasteur's work inspired Koch to develop a method of identifying the germs that cause disease, allowing Ehrlich to create the first ever magic bullet, Salvarsan 606, against syphilis. This led to the greatest magic bullet, penicillin, discovered by Britain's Fleming and developed by Florian Chain, which became the first ever antibiotic. Therefore, individuals have been extremely important to the development of the treatment of disease. So, just going to try and zoom out a little, and let's have a look at this first paragraph that we've just written. Hopefully you'll have your own copy in front of you, and you'll be able to read it quite clearly. Okay, so we start off with a strong opening sentence. So there's no doubt that I'm going to be talking about the role of the individual. I go on to give my first example, Ibn Sina, and you'll see that I've highlighted the word Britain here because I would have missed an opportunity, wouldn't I? His book becomes the standard medical textbook in Europe. Well, that includes Britain. Easy. Nice connective to lead me to my next individual, Jenner. And I've specifically said Britain's Jenner, as I have done down here with Britain's Fleming. You don't need to say Britain's, okay? That's just me adding it in there to make my point. And the point being that I'm making sure that I'm talking about, wherever possible, examples that are relevant to Britain. I talk about Jenner, Pasteur, and I show, very importantly, I show how one person's work led to the development of that work by the next scientist or doctor. So I talked about Jenner's vaccination, which led to Pasteur's vaccines, which led to the first magic bullet, which is all about the treatment of disease. And I finally finish off with a nice link back to the question, just stressing my point that individuals are extremely important to the development of the treatment of disease. At this point, it's worth having a quick look over and making sure, first of all, have I given 3 or more examples of this factor, the role of the individual? The answer is yes. I've got Ibn Sina, 1. I've got Jenner, 2. Pasteur, 3. I've got Koch and Fleming. I've got Ehrlich. I've got plenty of individuals. Have I shown how one's work led to that of the other? Yes. I've shown how they built on each other's work. Have I included examples that are relevant to Britain? After all, that's what the question is asking me to do. The answer again is yes. And finally, have I used some nice connectives to link my individuals together? The answer is yes. So, at this point, if you have managed to write this paragraph, there is no doubt that you are looking at a level 2, and you're getting full marks for within that level. You're getting 8 out of 16. You are also going to be getting 4 for your SPaG. So 12 marks in total for a single paragraph. That's really, really good going. Why only 8 out of 16? Why only a level 2? Because in order to get out of a level 2, according to the mark scheme, you need at least one other factor. And we're going to look at that in our next video.